Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee. My name is Councillor Paul Heath and I'm the chairman of this committee. I will now go through a few items of housekeeping before we proceed with the main business of the meeting. We are not expecting a fire alarm this evening, but should one sound, please can members use the exit to the rear of the chamber and assemble in the car park. Please can you make sure that your phones and devices are switched to silent. If members wish to speak during our debates this evening, please can you indicate by raising your hand and I will come to you at the appropriate time. Please can I remind everyone to use their microphones when speaking and to switch them off when they're finished speaking, including myself. Can I also remind you that this meeting is being webcasted. I will now proceed with the main business of the evening. Agenda item number 1, apologies for absence, please, Jessica.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies this evening from Councillor Courtauld, Councillor Hayes, Councillor Martin and Councillor Ethan Williams.
And I think that's been all of us, isn't it? So, if there are no further apologies, I will proceed with the agenda item number 2, declaration of interest. Do members have any disclosable pecuniary interest, other registrable interest or non-registrable interest that they wish to declare this evening? If so, please state them and the nature of your interest. No. Right. If there are no more or no declarations, I will proceed to item number 3, which is the minutes of our previous meeting. Agenda item number 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Please can I have a proposer to approve the minutes as an accurate record of the meeting of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee held on the 23rd of April 2025. Councillor Ramage, please. You're moving? Yeah. Second. Thank you. Councillor Bunn. All those in favour, please. Thank you. Right, moving on to item number 4, which is the public question time. We have no registered speakers for this evening's meeting, therefore we will proceed with agenda item number 5, which is the review into the North Essex Parking Partnership net draft scrutiny report. Members, the report for this item was circulated separately to the agenda on Friday the 6th of June and regards the committee's draft report for the scrutiny review into the North Essex Parking Partnership. As chairman of the committee, I will provide a brief introduction before I open the floor to this meeting for discussion. The purpose of bringing this draft report to you this evening is for members to consider its contents and whether we as a committee wish to make any amendments or additions ahead of its submission to the Cabinet meeting in September. When considering the draft report, members should have regard to the terms of reference of the scrutiny review, which are set out on paragraph 2.2 of the report. And so, do members wish to make any comments on the report? If so, please could you indicate? Councillor Holland, please.
There are a number, but...
Councillor Holland, sorry, you have got your microphone on. Apologies.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't switch it on. 3.1, last line or so, and to explore the benefits of the Council maintaining its involvement with the NEPP. I'm not sure that's a particularly helpful reflection on what we were trying to do, simply because there's a presumption of benefit implicit in that, and I think that entire sentence should be far more neutral. We were looking at the costs and the benefits, and I think that was an issue that was agreed and minuted at an earlier meeting, that we would look at it on a cost-benefit basis. So I personally would like to see that amended.
Councillor Abbott, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just an observation, really. Apologies, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I have read the minutes and the report. With less than 2 years from now, 23 months, we will potentially, on the basis of the trajectory, have a shadow authority in place, which will be working up new arrangements, including on parking. So I think the conclusion of the report that there's not much mileage in changing things now is the correct one.
Thank you, Councillor Abbott. Councillor Van Dalken, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I would agree with Councillor Abbott and I think others that there is no mileage in a distraction, a potential distraction such as this, as the system does work very well.
Okay. Right. So, taking Councillor Holland's point, we can do the rewording?
That's absolutely fine.
Does that find agreement, members, that we reword it?
Proposer in a second.
Yeah, proposed and seconded by Councillor Ramage. Did you wish to speak, Councillor Ramage?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All those in favour of that change? Thank you, that is unanimous.
Chairman, can I just ask you to just repeat the recommendation that's in, just so we have it in for transparency, that that's all been approved. So the amendment that's been agreed will be included as part of that recommendation.
Right, yeah. So thank you, members. We have kept a note of the amendments and suggestion, and will incorporate these into the reports. And if there are no further comments, we are asked to consider the draft scrutiny report. No, I'm not going back to the wrong page. Sorry.
You had it right. So yeah, it's these. We've done that.
Yeah. So we're asking to delegate the authority to myself as chairman to finalise the draft scrutiny report in line with the agreed suggestion ahead of the submission of the report to the Cabinet. As chairman, I will move the recommendation. Please, can I ask for a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bond. Members, the recommendation has been moved and seconded. I will now proceed to the vote. All members in favour, please show. Thank you. That's unanimous. Right. Thank you, members. The recommendations have been approved. We will now proceed to item number 6 on our agenda, which is the call for topics 2025-26, for which we will have a verbal update from Jessica Mann, our scrutiny officer. And part of this takes in what Councillor Abbott has just mentioned, that some of our initial ones, to be honest, we're not going to get done in the time that this council is probably still about. So we may want to review them all, but Jessica will go through it in more detail.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is just to let you know, members, that we plan to go out shortly for another call for topics process. So this is whereby all members of the council will be invited to submit potential future scrutiny topics, and obviously keeping in mind that the impacts of LGR may come into some of those topics. So we just need to bear that in mind. So previously we had a number of topics that came forward, and we'd divided them into tranche 1 topics, which included our scrutiny review into the North Essex Parking Partnership, and we had tranche 2 topics. So I was just going to give you a bit of an update on those topics as they currently stand, bearing in mind LGR. So under the tranche 1 topics we had before, obviously there was the NEP scrutiny review, which is now complete. We also had the Wethersfield Asylum Centre, the operational aspect specifically, on our list under tranche 1. This one, it was felt, obviously we could take it forward. It would need to be carefully managed due to the sensitivities around it. But currently the council is still involved with ongoing matters around that. I haven't got the details, but we said we'd bring it forward when it was timely to do so, and it's still not timely to do so. So we can keep it on there, but as to when we're able to actually broach it, it's not able to be confirmed at the moment. The final topic under tranche 1 was looking at the effectiveness of the North Essex councils. Again, this isn't considered to be appropriate at the moment because of LGR, but obviously last year we didn't have that sort of on the horizon, so that's just the recommendation at the moment. Under tranche 2, we had 2 topics. The first was support to town centres, so looking at things like parking and how we could improve that for the towns. We can keep that on the list if you'd like to do so, as a topic to be looked at. But again, it's just as to when it will come forward would just be depending on when it's timely to do so. So if we get new topics come forward from the call for topics that's due to start, some of those might be more timely and more of a priority. So we might look at those first and then this one later. And then the final topic that we had was financial support for community organisations. And this topic, again, we could still take that forward and look at it for scrutiny. But again, other topics might come forward that are more urgent and a higher priority as part of the scrutiny work programme. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that that is coming up, and to start obviously giving some consideration to topics that you might want to come forward as part of a scrutiny review. And, they will certainly be considered, and we will come back to you on those. Do members have any questions? I'll be happy to take them.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Just quickly butting in while I've got the microphone. I actually think both of those are still quite important, and I think they're important for us because we know our district better than the unitary will. It's my own fault. Councillor Beavers, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a few questions, if I may, Jessica, first. So I think just in terms of the asylum centre, so you've got 2 ward members here this evening, and we do quite a lot of engagement actually at a local level, but really, I suppose in some respects it's sort of hyper-local because we deal directly with the Home Office. And in fact, Councillor Taylor only went into the centre a few weeks ago. And we pick topics and we sort of discuss them. So I can see from 2 members of this committee how we feel about that, and maybe it is kind of being covered. And if it was to come forward, I think out of courtesy, a discussion with those on the ground that are more involved with it, I think would be appropriate. So it's my first comment on that. I think my general comment is, and I may have got this wrong, so please excuse me if I have, but it's up to the members of this committee, I think, to decide what we want to bring forward. And where Jessica says, well, this might not quite be timely at the moment in terms of, NEC because of what's going on with LGA. Well, that might be how the corporate team feel, but that might not necessarily mean how we actually feel. I mean, it's not just about NEC now. We've got the new North Essex other cluster as well now because of LGR. So I'd need to be convinced as to why we shouldn't be fulfilling our function on that, because it's huge, absolutely huge, actually. And so is LGR. And I'm not convinced we as a scrutiny committee have really got our teeth into that yet. And not to be disruptive, it's not what this is about. It's about us understanding it more fully as the scrutineers of the council. So I think with the topics that you've read out, I think I as a member would be a little bit irritated, I think is possibly the word, if we were sort of looking at a selection and then others came forward and it was kind of considered that this was more appropriate than we should surely get that say is how I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take a note of your comments, Councillor Beavers.
And what I will say, Councillor Beavers, is myself and the Vice Chairman happily take anything in front of anybody to argue the point and report back. There is no problem with that at all. Any subject that any member of this committee wants to raise will be taken further along the line, and the report will be given back. Councillor Holland, please.
I'd like to seek some clarification from you, Chairman. You said, I think both of those are hugely important in your earlier statement. Can you tell me what both were? Do you mean the tranches or the issues?
The 2 points that were raised as tranche 2 with the town centres and the community support, I mean, it is a little bit of localism, if you like, but as much as I believe that Whitton Town Council knows Whitton better than the district, I believe that in this district we know our area, and at the moment we're in the best place to fight for our district before it moves on to a larger organisation. I like localism.
You're not going to find me arguing with you. I'm going to vigorously agree. More importantly, I think it's the case that this committee struggled to understand its role, responsibilities and raison d'etre at the outset. And I'm not sure, having listened this evening, that we're fully clear on it. in all parts. So there's some clarity I think we need to understand, and I would seek clarity from Jessica, probably. It is my understanding that the final decision as to what this committee sits and debates is down to senior officers and not down to us. Am I wrong in that?
Thank you, Councillor Holland. So, yeah, just to clarify, it isn't down to the senior management team to ultimately decide, you know, what you look at. They can obviously advise what they think is worthwhile, you know, taking forward, but it would be, you know, a decision of the wider committee, you know, in conjunction with that advice, to actually whether those topics come forward as a scrutiny review topics or not. So it would be down ultimately to the committee. But obviously, if a topic comes forward and the strong advice from management board is not to take it, you know, we would take that on board. It might be that we're not able to pursue a scrutiny review very far, depending on what it is. So we'd need to see what the topic looked like, and obviously, you know, they can provide some valuable insight into that, which is beneficial for us as a committee. But ultimately, yes, it would be down to the committee.
Thank you for that clarity. The which I will take note of. One of the other problems I foresee is whether we have clarity about what the purpose of this committee is with respect to any issue. If we have a council decision, for example, join the North Essex Parking Partnership, we can look at that decision, we can look at whether it still confers benefit and value to our council and our residents. With broader policy issues, I'm not sure it's the role of this committee to either parallel work being done in other areas or on other committees, or to scrutinise something where there is nothing specific that we know of that's proposed on that area. So I don't think it's for this committee to do a sort of roving research project into Wethersfield, for example. If decisions have been made by the council that members feel should be looked at carefully, surely that is the role of this committee. But once again, I seek clarification. I don't believe it is the role of this committee to delve into an issue just because it seems interesting or particularly relevant. I would like some further solidity around what our role is with respect to these matters. Do we look at papers coming forward to Cabinet, papers that have been through Cabinet, decisions that have been made by this council, and decisions that are going to be made by this council one way or another? Or is our remit more general than that? Thank you.
Thank you. I will answer that as best as I can. So it isn't the sole remit of this committee to, as you say, you know, just to do research into a topic because it's an interesting topic. There has to be some kind of a proven benefit to doing that. So if it's a topic that we bring forward, it's because that topic might have a broader impact on the wider district or of the council. So there is merit in looking at it. So we wouldn't just look at a topic because we think that sounds, you know, a bit interesting and we think the committee would enjoy it. It would be more than that, and it would have to be proven when that topic is submitted that that's the evidence for looking at this topic. There's criteria that would have to be met. In terms of decisions that come forward at Council Cabinet, there is the decision planner, which I would encourage all members to obviously to look at and see what decisions are coming up and which might be further down the line could be looked at again through scrutiny. So, you know, scrutiny, this committee has, you know, has the call-in provisions, which can be be used. But if there's a decision that's been taken and, you know, we feel it would be worth looking at again, then of course this committee can look at, you know, again, you'd have to evidence why, the reasons for, but it could certainly be brought to the committee. So it's not just looking at, you know, topics as we find them, it's looking at the decisions as well. If it would be helpful, I can send some clarity out to you all on an email to explain the specifics of the role of this committee. You know, I'm sure there's, I think, maybe an old email I could use to pull something together. Would that be helpful, just to clarify?
I think it's a useful reminder, but as I think I demonstrated in an earlier meeting, you have actually already sent us out a fulsome bevy of reports and documents and briefings telling us exactly, in my view, what the role of and remit of this committee is. And my issue tonight is listening to what's being said around the room, is to try and make sure that we do recognise that there are very clear confining constraints on what it is we do and what we look at. And the reason I say that is because I have already fulsomely agreed with our chairman about the tranche 2 issues that he sees as being very important, as I do. But I would say with respect to tranche 1, the work is either done or might sensibly not be engaged in for various legal and other sensitivity reasons. Where that leaves us is in a position where, in my perception, there's not a lot of work left for us to do between now and 2028 unless we start having a serious and well-focused think about what we're going to do. And there is an important role for this committee in looking at, sometimes, as we've just done, past decisions, their implications, and whether that decision is fit for the future. That's the sort of thing I personally hope that we do. I'm worried that we might end up rooting around the weeds about things which are not strictly within our remit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. One of the topics is support for community groups. I think that's a very good one. I strongly support that, and it feeds into what you were saying about localism, and I think that is worthwhile for doing. And I would support that being quite a wide remit. So obviously support could mean revenue support direct from the council. It could mean the council community grant schemes. It could mean helping to source external grant funding, government grant funding. But I think it should also include how we fund groups through capital schemes. I've tried over many years to get a councillor capital grant bid scheme going, an annual one, and we have had it some years and not others. I'll be blunt, I think the current decision-making process on this is highly centralised, and I won't use the word I was going to use about politics, but not necessarily as fair as it might be. And your point about we know our local areas, some of us have represented our local areas for decades, and so when we have a local group come to us and it's got a building, which might be a council building, and it's looking for improvements, and that's continuously refused, for not large sums of money, when we see other schemes for 10 times as much money going ahead in the local towns, we do sometimes feel that there could be a different way of looking at these things. So I'd want it to look at from both the revenue side and the capital side. Thank you.
I fully agree. There is more to everything than just money. I mean, sometimes it's having the right person come to a room and discuss things is the support an organisation needs. So I think it's very wide brief. Councillor Taylor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree also with Councillor Abbott on that, how you deal with those issues. I do agree. And I think just an extension to Councillor Holland, I think the Scrutiny Committee should be making the most of requisitioning or calling in Cabinet decisions. I think that And I think Jessica makes the point about the scheme of delegations. I wonder whether that should actually feature as part of an item on this agenda, and we can actually go through that and discuss them. And I think Councillor Holland, within his analytical, inquiring mind, we might find ourselves delving into those schemes of delegation and perhaps looking to call them in as well as the cabinet decisions. So perhaps we should add those as items to the agenda, not to make work for Jessica and the officer team, but I think having it in the report pack could prompt some discussion and debate here and lead to some decisions internally around call-ins. So that was the only point I was going to make.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Can I just clarify, do you mean so having the decision planner itself as an item on the agenda?
I think so, yeah. Not to make work, but I think it would, if it was an item here, I think it would be discussed in this forum, and I think it would, I think it would enable us to.
That's fine. We normally include it as an item for consideration. We don't normally include the full decision planner, but I can certainly do a link to it or something like that, so it's a prompt for members to see what's coming forth decision-wise.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to pick up on one of the points that Councillor Holland made about not duplicating work that's done on other committees. And, I can say this, that we don't actually have that many committees anymore. We just don't. And we used to do a lot, task and finish, at one stage area committees, cluster meetings, you name it. We did a lot, and we don't do that anymore. It's very different now to how it used to be even 5-6 years ago. So that's one point. My second point is, I do think that Councillor Holland makes a point about, making sure that we do go back and look at some of the past decisions. And I've got two areas that I feel quite strongly about, and they're always coming up in our ward. And the first one actually is the decision on the bins. Now, I know there were some conversations that were had outside of the council, just councillors talking generally and feeling that actually we shouldn't call the decision in. But I do think there is some merit in us keeping an eye on the process and the performance without being an irritation. One of the things that the Cabinet member, Councillor Cunningham, said at the meeting was this decision will be fit. It will be fit for LGR, and that's really stuck with me because a lot of residents don't feel that. And I think there could be quite a useful piece of work done by this committee that we could actually say to our residents, yes, this is all going through, but it's not just a fait accompli, it is being looked at. And I think that could be quite a helpful piece of work, actually, that we could do without being an irritation. That's my first thing. My second point is around enforcement. And we had a task and finish group on enforcement, and myself, Councillor Abbott, I can't remember who else was on it now, but we used to come into this room for quite some time actually looking at enforcement, and we increased the number of officers that we had. But actually, a lot of the recommendations in that report have never been fulfilled. For example, better communication to all members in the way we push information out. We don't get it. We just don't. And now as members, we are being asked to, every time, and it's happened to me today, well, can I just stop you there and can you just fill in the online form? And I feel like saying, I'm a member of the council. And we never used to have to do all of this. We're having to jump through all these hoops. We're democratically elected members, and I just feel that we did a task and finish on it, but it's just not been completed at all. And I think that that's something that we could really go back and revisit. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Chairman, for your indulgence. Thank you, Councillor Beevers, for those comments. I will make a note. What I would say is if you do have areas that you think would be useful scrutiny topics, is to raise them with us in more detail, perhaps email or something like that. And, it's something we could consider taking forward.
But I assume they'll be picked up from tonight, because I'm a member of the committee and I've raised the points.
Yes, I appreciate that as well. So we're not here. I'm not here tonight to take new topic ideas at the moment, but I am looking at, keeping notes of what you've suggested, and we will sort of consider that, but I can't guarantee they're going to be taken forward at this point, is what I mean. There is going to be the call for topics within the next week or two, so there will be another opportunity there to submit topics as well. I just don't want to guarantee that they're going to be taken forward. I'll keep a note, but I don't want to promise you that that is going to happen at this point, but they will certainly be looked at.
Yeah, just a couple of observations. I agree with Councillor Taylor on the role of the committee. As an ex-chairman of this committee, our remit is to call in any decisions made by the council's cabinet, and that's the way I've always understood it. So that's the way we should carry on, as far as I'm concerned. Just one other question to you, Jessica, through you, Chair, regarding this call for topics. When will it be activated, and when will it, finish as such? Because obviously, I assume it's just a short window. Is that right?
That is correct. So I'm hoping that it will commence from next week. There will be an online form for members to use to help sort of pull the topic ideas together. So I just need to get that sorted first. And then the actual process runs for, I believe it's 2 weeks. So members will be given sort of that window. And then after that, we'll collate the topics that have been brought forward and feed back to you all.
And once you've done that, we as a committee make a decision what topics we're going to carry forward, because that's the way it's used to work as such.
So once the topics have been collated, they will be seen by management board just for their feedback, and they will be presented to the scrutiny chairman, so that's Councillor Heath, Councillor Wrench and Councillor Courtauld for their feedback, and then we'll bring a report to the committee informing everyone of what the topics are that have come forward, and we'll go from there. I can't guarantee obviously that all topics that come forward will be taken forward, but they will certainly be considered and they'll be brought to the committee for their consideration as well.
Just a thought on that subject. I mean, to me, I think there should be topics which are going to benefit as much of the community in the district, and also benefit the finances of the council as well.
Thank you very much. I wanted to pick up on the idea that the waste strategy is something that this committee might look at in the future. And
apologies.
Oh, sorry. And one of the reasons I think that is because we should, as far as possible, be doing things to contribute towards a smooth transition through LGR. And to some extent, we're seeing that already in that our officers have been suggesting, with respect to the waste strategy, that we are, to some extent, leading the way, as we did over food waste bins a very long time ago. And that's all to be welcomed. So it seems to me that the time to actually, for the scrutiny committee to look at the waste management system that this council has implemented is going to be very late in the days of this committee, and the objective should be to scrutinise the decision, check that the business plan matched reality reasonably well, and on the basis of that, the output should be fundamentally a recommendation not just to our cabinet, but to any future authority, because there will be lessons to be learned. Nothing in this world is perfect. There will be lessons to be learned, and it would be rather good use, in my view, of this committee's time if we identified what those lessons might be, good or bad. I'm not suggesting one way or t'other, so that we better inform the process when LGR comes to pass. The other thing I wanted was some clarification from Jessica. One, are we going to have a transparent process wherein all of the suggestions for topics put forward by members, all of them are published so that the entire membership of this council is aware of what has been put forward? That's the first thing. The second thing is that I see a slight conflict in what you, Jessica, said to us, in that the implication of what you just said is that members will suggest topics and then the management board and officers will decide what is fed through to you as possible topics for you to look at. And in my belief, a more transparent and democratic process would involve all of the items in the same way as the current local plan subcommittee looks at all of the ideas people have come forward with and provides a recommendation for each and every one of them. I'm not suggesting anything quite as evolved. It doesn't need to be. But the truth of it is that if we're going to do this as a democratic process, we need to be aware of the issues that are being raised by all of the membership of this council, so that we can work out, actually, maybe they've got a point, or actually, the management board might not be terribly comfortable with this, but we've got 14 members of this council who've suggested the same thing. And perhaps that suggests that the public perception of the importance of this issue as represented by members is a bit different to the corporate picture. So I'm seeking assurance that this is going to be a transparent process, and it will not be one where the management board is in a position of hiding issues which people have brought forward. Thank you very much.
I can assure you that every single item that comes to us will be published, and the response, whatever it will be from whoever it will be, if I'm allowed to, will be published as well, because some might be business sensitive. You know better than I do, but every single idea that comes in will be published, and we will actually clarify with whichever member asks for it that we've got it right in when we take it forward to ask. I ask a lot more difficult questions now than I did 2 years ago.
Thank you, Chair. Question is to Jessica, really. I'm a little bit as a new member of this committee, I'm slightly frosty in terms of when we go through these topics, if we make conclusions or can we make recommendations? And what I mean by that is if, say for example, on the issue that Councillor Abbott raised, and we felt that there was a need for a Section 106 committee to look at how we spend S106s, or we look at how we might invest in community facilities, can we make such recommendations through an inquiry?
So, yeah, certainly. So
Okay.
when you submit a topic, you know, you can include as much
Fine.
detail as you see fit. If you want to include recommendations about where that topic could go, then
Okay.
please do include that.
Fine, thank you.
Anybody else? Oh. Right, thank you, members. As we have no urgent business, this item concludes our business for the evening. Our next scheduled meeting of this committee is due to take place on the 10th of September 2025. I will therefore close this meeting of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee at 7:53. And thank you for your attendance, a safe journey home, and please, if anybody's got anything, don't wait till September. Contact either Jessica or myself. I seem to be in here weekly now, and I'll happily try to find an answer. Thank you, members. Good night.